So I hope that everyone can hear me. So my name is Sabina. Welcome to the conference of the OCA Magazine. And today's topic is international importance of international cooperation for higher education institutions, so for universities, I mean. And let me start the meeting. But first of all, I would like to tell you about our time limit for speakers. So every speaker will have 7 minutes for his speech. And please, during the speech, I would like to ask you, all of you to keep your microphone turned off. And if you will have any questions, please write them to the Zoom chat. And we will ask them to the speakers after the speech. So first of all, I would like to start our conference with the video presentations of the magazine. So let me, maybe 2 minutes. I'll show you. Hmm. And if there will be some problems with the voice, audio, and connection, please tell me before. So. Hmm. Now, can you see my screen? Yes, sure. Okay. Um, I hope that. And the audio? No, you can hear it. Okay.
Only you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, just.
I came across OCA Magazine when I was a student, and I was wondering what this OCA stands for, which is Open Central Asia. Later on, I was lucky enough to write an article about Marc Chagall's art. OCA Magazine is a unique magazine which brings cultures together. This is the main purpose.
I've known Marat and the Open Central Asia magazine pretty much since the beginning, and would highly recommend it to anyone, not only the seasoned traveller, but also perhaps the complete beginner. It's a magnificent combination of business, culture, and social articles which really bring to life this amazingly vibrant and rich part of the world.
Open Central Asia magazine was founded over 10 years ago now, just after the end of the last financial crisis. And now, as we sit here today in a new era of uncertainty and turmoil, I remember back to what people said to us in 2009. They thought we were crazy. Why did the world need to see anything from Central Asia when we were so busy battling with our own lives and recovering from the financial crisis? But in fact, there had never been a better time to bring out such a magazine that would bring to the fore the relevance of Central Asia today for people both from Central Asia in Europe and those in Europe who might be interested in going to or transacting with Central Asian from a business perspective. So we've always been keen to bring the opinions, issues, news, events, cultures and traditions from Central Asia and now even the Eurasian region as well.
So thank you for watching this video. And now I'm gonna give the word to our moderator, Dr. Siddharth Saxena. Please introduce yourself and let's start.
Thank you, Sabina. Welcome, everyone, and I'm glad to see that we have our common friends and as well as new colleagues joining us. So my name is Siddharth Saxena. Most of you call me, know me as Montu. I chair the Cambridge program on Central Asia, and I am also a physicist as well as a Central Asianist. And in this capacity, I've come to know many of you across the region. And today's project is a particularly interesting one. You did hear this brief introduction about OCA Magazine, and it was something that was born in UK, and we have always kind of been a partner as well as in helping develop the magazine and connecting the Eurasia region with UK, but also further afield in Europe and Asia and the United States. And the current notion of this meeting kind of was growing around the idea that how there is a boom in the university sector in the region. Its population on one side is growing, its industrial sectors are rejuvenating after 30 years of Soviet collapse, and there is a intrinsic value among the people of Central Asia regarding education, and that is on one side a very positive thing. On the second side, given the fact that the region had a very different history and different trajectory over the last 100 years, there's a different institutional frameworks. So when Central Asian frameworks meet with the global frameworks, there are new and interesting, both positive and negative, pros and cons kind of emerge. And one thing that hasn't happened is the full kind of bloom of the university sector as we know it in the West, or even globally. I shouldn't just restrict that to the West. And I think a lot of the interlocutors today, our speakers, are those bridges, and that's why we invited you to come to share your ideas with us regarding international cooperation. But at the same time, we thought this magazine can also help this particular project of emergence of university and education sector in the new era in the region. Because one problem that we are facing is that there is a fixed idea of what a university should be, how it should operate, who does it work for, and that completely being revised by the experience of universities that are emerging in Eurasia. And you don't get a voice often. You have to perform to a fixed idea of what a metric of university should be. And so today we want to open a conversation with you to see how we can bring the voice of the new, both in terms of new universities, as well as how the universities have reformed and recast themselves as per the need today. So I'm really delighted that we are starting this conversation, and we hope this conversation can continue in form of workshops, but also formulating how the magazine can then come forward with an issue in which your voice can be heard from the region, and without any preconditions of how a university should be. You should have your voice that I'm building my university in this way, and this is how I'm relevant, and I don't need to perform to necessarily metrics which are predetermined by other cultures, other economic needs, or other frameworks, and so on. So, so there's a wide open table, and the conversation starts today. So, with that, to reiterate the theme for today, and we have shared questions with you. We won't stick to in a traditional way to question and answers framework. Those questions are guides for you to kind of think of the theme of international cooperation. So this also recognizes a moment that now universities in Central Asia and Eurasia have developed themselves to a point where they can be actors themselves, and how they would like to cooperate internationally rather than cooperation brought to them and handed down, fed with a spoon. So in that sense, I'd like to then invite our first speaker, again, coming from a very interesting institution, Gabdullin, who's the acting rector of the Kazakh-British Technical University, and he, like me, is trained as a scientist in the physical and mathematical sciences, but now he has played a role in a number of different spheres, and particularly managing this university, which was born out of a UK and Kazakhstan collaboration. And this is especially interesting because we have in our panel a previous vice rector of this university as well. So, but we'll start with Maratbek. Gabdullin, please, would you like to say your opening words?
Yeah. Good day, everyone. Thank you very much for the possibility for invitations. Yes, I would say that these days we see positive trends and changes for universities of Eurasia. Large and quite strong institutions are participating in global rankings, obtain international recognized accreditations, and by our trends, 10 universities of Kazakhstan, for example, in present times, put in QS ratings, 3 of them by the Times Higher Educations, and our university also will be have aims to improve our positions in different rankings and by the academic programs and researches, program collaborations between our universities.
Thank you, Maratbek, for your opening comments. We'll come back to you for more details as we go along. Now I'd like to invite Dr. Yuri Loktionov, a friend and in many ways a pioneer in building institutional frameworks in not only in Central Asia, but also Eurasia in general. Yuri, please, you can share your thoughts about the past, but also the new fantastic institution you're involved in building right now in Uzbekistan, in Tashkent.
Thank you very much, Montu, and good afternoon, good morning to all of the colleagues. Good time of the day, wherever you are. Hope you can all hear me. So, and again, a great set of questions. What I'd like to stick to the time limit. So, just a couple of ideas that we are observing now, and we have observed before, that I think I would also, from an institutional standpoint, we would love to know your opinion. So, first of all, I represent a new an aspiring university in Tashkent, Uzbekistan, the British Management University. We're only a year old, but the team behind us is pretty experienced. So we are, again, we're young, but we're very entrepreneurial. We are, aspiring. We're hungry, and the country, as you know, those of you that have been to work with Uzbekistan, those of you know that there's a clear lack of quality institutions here. But I'd actually like to highlight one specific point that I don't hear talked about that much. And, of course, we can talk about infrastructure, IT infrastructure, lack thereof, improving infrastructure, but we've had these discussions, all of you know that really well. The point I want to highlight is something we've observed, and those of you that know me, you know that I spent a number of years in Kazakhstan. Actually, several of our colleagues here, we met at KPTU. So we know how the market in Kazakhstan as well. And we're observing a similar trend, but even more so in Uzbekistan. I'm going to call it an expectations gap between what students believe about themselves and the realities of the international education and job market. I'm going to give one specific example. I teach a little bit of math, besides being an administrator, I teach A-level math, our first level course. So I know some of the students personally. And I just ran one of them ran across me in the hallway and said, "Hey teacher, how are you? Great. I'd love to go to Cambridge." Let's pick on Cambridge since Dr. Monta here is in Cambridge. I'd love to go to Cambridge. Now, honestly, I would love this kid to go to Cambridge as well. The problem is that I know him. I know how he does in school. There's a clear lack of his sort of basically where he thinks he is and where Cambridge needs him to be. And we don't want to discourage them, right? We don't want to say, look, your knowledge is not up to par, you're not quite there yet. But there's a clear lack, there's a clear gap between, not always, but between many of the kids' perception, many of our students' perception of themselves, right? And what's really needed. And of course, this feeds into employment, where corporates, large companies and large and small, they say we cannot get enough good graduates. At the same time, having tons of graduates unemployed, and at the same time as many of them aspiring to join top universities globally, but not quite understanding what it takes. Now, and the factor, this is what we're talking about today. I think internationalization, information, right, and global competition are these key factors that can help, right? Obviously knowing how things are internationally, what it takes to get to an internationally competitive school, right? What it takes to get a job. We have the same thing from some of our applicants. Can you guarantee me a job in the UK? Well, just the question basically tells us that they don't understand how the international global sort of job market works. So I think what we're talking about today, today's topic, internationalization, opening borders, opening mental borders, providing information, sharing information is the key to resolving that. So I'd stop here for now.
Thank you, Yuri. That's exactly the kind of conversation we would like to have. Very, very practical and pragmatic, yet with the same time keeping an eye on the educational excellence, the pedagogic excellence that we need to achieve that, and that's we hope we'll explore that further. Sabina, back to you. I believe that you wish to say a little bit about this special issue the OCA is organizing.
Yes, sure. So let me share again my screen. Just 1 minute. So can everybody see my screen? Can read everything? Yes. So I would like to introduce you to our new special project for universities. It is called 50 Universities of Eurasia 2021. And it will be published in August of this year. So we are welcome every university to apply for this project. Only 50 universities will be mentioned there. So let me tell more about the project. So it is dedicated to 50 universities in the countries of the Eurasian region. And there can be published an article about the achievements, about the success of the university, or maybe the history of the university. Also, it is possible to publish the interview of the rector or maybe presidents of universities. So the dates, the issue will be published in August 2021 in English as well. And the deadline of application is the 1st of June. Places are limited, and the preference will be given to early applications and members of the Eurasian Creative Guild. So next point is that yes, I already mentioned that, and I would like to tell you more about the previous issues where already we have published the interviews or articles about the rectors of Eurasia, for example, this Andrew Wachtel. And also we have published lots of articles about the professors from Central Asia, like Shamsh Kasim Lakha, like Tesisbov and Yerlan Sidikov. So about the technical requirements. Sorry. Let me turn. So, okay, continue. The minimum wall of a publication is 2 pages. The basic placement is just 650 pounds, British pounds, for 2 pages. And for the guild members, there's this discounts 25%. So next, what is included in price? There are 2 pages, 1 page article or interview, and the second page is given for posting information about the institution. So also it will be presented in London in embassies of the CIS countries, for Great Britain and USA, and ministries, British national libraries, also among our subscribers, partners of the magazine, and the members of Eurasian Creative Guild. And what kind of information do we need? It's legal name, trade name, year of foundation, number of students, number of teachers, number of faculties, and availability of business schools and other branches. Also, the information about participation in international rankings, full name of the rector, features achievements the university has had during its history, and address, contacts, email, university website. So it is necessary to send a response to applications for participation in the project to email bozhena@ocamagazine.com by June 1st. And yes, the application must be provided by the text of the article. So if you will have any questions about the project, or if you want to participate in the project, please share with us your contacts. I will, in the chat, I will contact you soon after the meeting. I will send you also the information and the PDF file of this project. So that's it. I hope that everything is clear for now. So yes.
Thank you, Sabina. However, your presentation was almost unreadable in terms of text, was not clear to read. So I would suggest if you could either send a link on the chat, or send this information to people who are attending in, by email or other means, because we couldn't really actually read the details, but we could hear you, so we understand the general principles of what you're saying. So anyway, that's the information about the special issue that's going to come through. You can email Bozhena down there, as she's putting there, for further and this information. Now we are delighted to welcome our next speaker, Atman, Dr. Atman, who I cannot see him yet. Could we highlight him, please?
Yes,
Invite
he's
him to
here.
speak. Yeah.
Dr. Hartman, please turn on your microphone.
And camera, if possible.
Yes, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, panel members from Almaty. On a nice sunny day, greeting to you all. Here in Kazakhstan, the city of Almaty is the base for a number of institutions, but one important point for collaboration among Central Asian universities and Eurasian universities is promoting multidisciplinary programs, especially at this time that we have healthcare challenges and emerging diseases. I think more than ever, we need centers and research teams and educational groups which can bring professionals from various educational backgrounds to one focus point for prevention of disease and proper management of public health challenges. So basically, to this panel, I would like to highlight the importance of multidisciplinary academic work and this could be highlighted in various publications and meetings of this kind. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's the most valuable thing that you mentioned, and I'm glad you did bring it up, as we hadn't really exactly highlighted it. I just wanted to share that this morning we actually held an expert panel on the COVID and pandemic related advice. How there's particular cures which are being promoted without any medical basis and so on. So we were able to put together multidisciplinary from sciences and social sciences and epidemiology to come and talk about it, and those are kind of things I think will glue the region together more and with the relevant context. So thank you for bringing that onto the table. And hopefully we'll. Yes, please.
More questions about epidemiology and public health. That's really my focus in Central Asia, so I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Sure. Now, I would like to welcome our next speaker, Gareth Stamp, who with extensive experience again in Central Asia and Asia in general, I would say in the global south. Could we have Dr. Stamp highlighted as a speaker at the moment?
Okay, can you all hear me? Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a real honor to be here amongst such distinguished people. I'm coming at this from a slightly different angle in that I worked in Kazakhstan for 9 years. I originally went there to work on a government project developing model schools and a new curriculum for the country. And so I was sort of starting at the bottom end and working up. When we were developing that curriculum, we had to think about where the students were going. What was the end result? What was going to be the end result of that curriculum? And that, I think, is the only way to start doing something like that. So I had to start looking at universities and start looking at what was available to the school students. As I say, I was there for 9 years. I did that project for 3 years. I then worked in the international school there. And I also was a visiting lecturer at a university and lectured part-time at a different university. So I got a good understanding of how the universities run. I was very lucky. I was in the right place at the right time, where the universities were actually looking for people who were flexible, looking for people who were native English speakers, could bring a different dimension, I suppose, to the things they were doing. It was interesting, that we're already talking about flexible learning and flexible ways of learning. And I think that's important as well for flexible teaching. I taught critical thinking, design skills, creative thinking, and I also tried to develop links with international institutions that I knew. In the past, I've worked in other countries, South Africa, Norway, and more recently India. And wherever I go, I try to make those links with people. I saw the whole process of me teaching and me lecturing as part of a journey, and I'm still on that journey. It wasn't the destination. And I think that if you can be flexible like that, it certainly taught me a lot about how people learn, and it taught me a lot about how to develop strategies and materials and methods to actually help people on that process. To me, international cooperation is vital. It creates a global learning community, breaks down stereotypes and barriers, shares experiences. And it also, in this context here, it develops cultural diversity and cross-cultural understanding. I learned so much from my students about the culture of Kazakhstan than I would do anywhere else. And I mean, anything that you do where you're trying to get international cooperation between educational establishments, whether it be schools, whether it be higher education, it requires planning. It requires funding, a lot of funding. But one of the key things it requires, that people forget about, it requires risk-taking. By that, I mean a person, usually one person, who is willing to do it first and willing to take that leap of faith, if you like. As you've already said, there's lots of universities blooming now in Central Asia, And I think actually what's happening across the world is the pandemic is actually making all universities reconsider the role that they have. What is a university? I know a lot of British universities are really struggling with the fact that they can't have students on campus, and they're struggling with online learning and things like that. Schools seem to have managed to do it a lot better. A lot of the smaller universities do struggle with international cooperation, mainly because of the funding, but also I think they need help in how to start. I would suggest that the easiest way to start is with student exchanges. I mean, I'm talking face-to-face here, not online. I want to get back to a world where we actually interact with each other. And I think student exchange is a good way to start. It could be small, it could be a short-term, one semester maybe. You could offer credits to the students as incentives for these exchanges. Teacher exchanges are also good, but that can be slightly more problematic in terms of curriculums used, term dates. I mean, for example, I actually did a teacher exchange with South Africa, and I left British summer and went to South African winter, and it was a bit of a shock. I had 12 months with no summer at all. So, mind you, that's normal Britain, I suppose, in some ways. But ideally, it needs to be the managers and the leaders who are working with other managers and other leaders, that they're busy already. Maybe universities need a specific person identifying opportunities and links. Maybe somebody who actually sits there and says, what can we offer other people and what can they offer us? I think I'm talking here about being more proactive and less reactive. I found my experience in Central Asia was very much universities reacting. I was grateful for it because they reacted towards me, but I think it could have been a much more valuable experience if it had been more proactive. And I think that's common across the themes and the actual fields of all universities. I'm going to leave it there for now, but I'm happy to take questions and come back in later if possible.
Thank you, guys. Actually, I will, for the moment, just stay with you to kind of work backward, asking your questions. One of the things that has been a dilemma for me working in the region for many years. So we have a kind of a different situation, right? So being part of the Soviet Union, Central Asia, Eurasia in general, had a very high level of educational development, and then we went into a kind of a free fall at a particular time for reasons we all know. And then the international community comes in, and then there are several different approaches that we've just heard from different speakers, including yourself, people who are committed to doing something in a practical way, hands-on and building. But then there are other frameworks which come through as metrics, as products, educational products, which are not fully understood, locally, but they're seen as prestigious, so they should be acquired. People should perform metrics which are often neither relevant nor fully institutionally prepared for people to work. So, do you see this in your very wide experience across Asia as an issue, and are there any thoughts about how people can cope with that?
Yeah, I think it is an issue, and it's something which you alluded to at the beginning about this idea of universities having to re-understand what they are. I think that one of the key issues to me with this is actually how relevant is what your university is doing to your local population. It's actually, are you providing people that are going to go out there and get jobs, or are you providing people there with lots of knowledge and understanding? One of the things that I found quite frustrating while I was in Kazakhstan was that there was a lot of emphasis put on intellect, and understandably, because it's a growing country, it's a country that wants to be a leader in the world, and rightly so, and it has all the opportunity and possibilities to do that. But at the same time, I found that what was happening was that the vocational side, if you like, of people was being ignored. So there was a lot of money and effort going into sending people abroad to study and then coming back, but there were no jobs. And so, I mean, that was something that I found very frustrating. I'm a very practical person, a very creative person, and I like to see people actually going out there, doing something, and then coming back and sharing that experience, and making that experience grow exponentially, if you like. And I found that wasn't happening. So I think that you're right about the way that universities see themselves, but I think they also need to picture where they are in their society, in their community.
Thank you. Thank you. So I would like to, if I could, invite Yuri Loktionov to comment on a similar topic, given the fact that you're building an institution with those same parameters in mind, the great project of British Management University in Tashkent. Yuri, would you like to step in? Do we have him still?
The microphone is turned off.
Yuri, could you turn your microphone on, please?
Your microphone is off.
Can everybody hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Look, this is again this. The issue is sort of again one of the issues is are we providing what the students really need, right? And then this is something like it's a big sort of global issue, because in some way, and I mean we all struggle with that in the sense that students start at a certain level, and again this is I'm going to share my personal experience and personal point of view. So sometimes we've all been there, right? We all started as students. At one point, I remember myself thinking this way as a student. You think you know what you need, but sometimes you don't. So what I sort of personally struggle with is that sort of we try to give students, we try to give them this great experience. We try to give them what they need, but also we should never forget that, I mean, they're young, right? They're still learning sort of the ropes, and sometimes they don't exactly know what they need. So, or they think that they need certain things, but they don't. Or maybe later on they say, well, actually, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I aspired for. So it is, as educators, I think it's really important for us to keep in mind that our job is not only to sort of provide to them or, to feed them what they want, but also sometimes to be, what phrase shall I use? Like a devil's advocate, and say, well, you want to do this, or you want to go to this school, or you want to have this job. Do you? Or do you want something else? Would you like to consider an alternative career path? Would you like to try? Would you maybe like to take a course, an unusual or something that you haven't thought about? And there's always a balance, right? Because we have to, we're in this education market, right? We're in a global education space. So we have to in some way play by the rules, but I think we also needn't or shouldn't forget that sometimes we are the trailblazers. We are the ones helping determine what these rules are. And again, this is something I've always struggled with, where is this balance? Where do we stop? When do we tell students, look, listen to us, learn, and then make a choice? This is something I'd love to hear other participants' views on. How do we approach that? It feeds into everything. It feeds into their choice of electives, specialties. It feeds into their choice of schools, right? When their parents tell them, go and be a banker, and they want to be a musician. Now, where does that leave us? What do we do? How do we tell them, don't be a musician, come and do banking with us? Or do we say, pursue, follow your heart? Where does this balance is? Where is it?
Yes, that's an excellent point. And some of you have already heard me use this particular example of how the 40% of people graduating in physics from Cambridge University end up going to work in financial markets in London, while the 40% of people who finish a degree in history also end up working in financial markets, while only 20% of those who do economics actually work in financial markets. And so we have to look at what skill sets, what aspirations built into pathways to career pathways to being successful. They're not formulaic. You can't say the X degree leads to Y, and what opens the doors for you in different ways. And this is a conversation I think we have to have more often. And this aspirational side of educators' aspiration versus students' aspiration, where their parents and societies we need to see how they kind of have a constructive interference, going to the future. But from here, I'd like to actually invite from the other side, in a sense, Maratbek, to comment on how institutionally a university like KBTU currently is conducting its international cooperation, what's happening, and what are the thoughts at the moment. So, Maratbek, please, could I ask you to come through?
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, international cooperation is very important, I think, not only for our university, for all universities. For example, we very proud by the our double degree programs with London School of Economics. Our joint master's programs with Italian oil and gas company Inai, and our Kazakh Maritime Academy we developed together with STC Group from Netherlands. And international cooperation is also very important for researchers. For example, for PhD students, by our program, all PhD students have two supervisors. One of them from local supervisor from Kazakhstan, and second from foreign supervisors. And we try choose foreign supervisors from strong university, from in high top ranks universities, which have good publications during the last 3 years, and some laboratories, and we provides us with chance to always develop our researchers. And okay, thank you.
Thank you, Maratbek. That's excellent to know. And I think on that particular note that you left us with the research supervision and publication and so on, I want to bring in Dr. Artman, and something which is extremely important. So one side of the education, of course, we discuss its practicability, its employability, how it's relevant, and so on. But there's another very important factor, which is that how relevant, what is the shelf life of the degree that you have? For how many years the education that you receive will remain relevant? And for that, it is now a well understood thing over hundreds of years that unless it's coupled with latest research and latest thinking, which translates into degrees and into teaching, the shelf life will remain very short. And multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary nature of things is one of the fuels for research currently, how we come together. So could we have Dr. Artman highlight it to bring this topic back into discussion?
Thank you. Again, I'm referring to multidisciplinary education. Example is schools of public health. Here in Kazakhstan, the first school of public health for Central Asia was established here in the 90s. First time I came to Kazakhstan, I was their guest. And now after 20 years, in many countries of the world, you have schools of public health growing. And the opposite is happening here, that that school, which was doing well 20 years ago, is now disappearing from the map. Although some other universities have started public health programs, but some good professionals and researchers have left this city or even this country. So maintaining the skilled professionals for multidisciplinary education and research as well as consulting, I think is very important, and any incentives on campus and off campus would be even more important in this whole adventure. So practical examples, real life examples such as global health challenges could be well promoted within institutions in this region. Example is a course on healthcare that now I'm teaching at KIMEP, and KIMEP does not have any health science structure in Almaty, Kazakhstan Institute of Management. But I'm teaching a course on health information system, and that's basically a hybrid course for health science and the computer science. So this kind of activity could be well replicated in many other institutions in order to assure the students that even if you're an undergraduate student, but you're still learning about something modern, about high tech, about technology, and therefore you are employable anywhere in the world. I think that's the key thing, rather than saying that, you know, we just want you to do not less than PhD and so forth and so on. That's my personal opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very valuable. So I would like to then open the floor for discussion for the brief time we had. And I already have a question from Dr. Chokan Laumelin from Satpayev University, and also simultaneously at Cambridge. Chokan, would you like to ask a question?
Yeah. Greetings to everyone. Dr. Saxena, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me well. I'm not sure about my internet connection. Thanks. My question is, I'm slightly more or less aware of what is happening in a higher educational sector and in Kazakhstan, because I am an associate professor at the local university, Satpayev University, a former polytech as it's called widely, and being also part of Cambridge. And one of the efforts we've been implying is to more actively as a university and to include other universities as our esteemed Kebeti here as well, into the transforming the scientific and educational landscape of the country, because one of the sectors which suffered mostly after the collapse of the Soviet Union is research. And Kazakhstan had been undergoing through constant reforms, trying to abandon the Soviet, which is what actually European continental model of separate research, which had been the Academy of Sciences and used to be universities and education that was somehow separated. Now it's the very main objective of this reform is, as far as I see it, is to launch an Anglo-Saxon type of university, research university. But this would mean launching and designing a huge infrastructure, because science is not cheap anywhere in the world. And here we are trying to more actively involve the university into this transformation, because Kazakhstan very ambitiously declared almost a few times fold increase on the science and education expenditure, and it's actually happening. But although some fragmentedly, but it's been happening. And my question is, could anyone comment on that for the other Central Asian brotherly countries, or any other experience? Any highlight on this would be extremely valuable. Thank you very much.
Well, we have Yuri from Uzbekistan, but I'll help him answer this question in different ways. But if it's possible to hear from Golib Kozhigotov, who's the other vice rector from the British University, that would be also helpful. But I can start with Yuri, please. Yuri, can you hear me?
Sorry, Monte, I got confused. Could you bounce? Could you quickly bounce it?
So basically, Chokan raised the issue of how the new drive within Kazakhstan, but also across the region, is about building an Anglo-Saxon model of education, which is short term. I mean, the shorthand for it is the research university, and that comes with its specific requirements and for expenditure, infrastructure, but not only that, but thinking through that what is the kind of time you allocate to your professors to teach, to do research. So it's not just publishing papers and having projects. It's about management aspects of that kind of a thing. Yeah.
Look, for us, it's actually, again, it's even more of an acute question for us because we are a private university. So so far, I mean, we do have, of course, we do have support. We do have government support in the sense that we do have goodwill. We do get obviously again support, but it's not financial support. So for us doing research, we have to be very mindful and sort of very smart about it, right? So, and I guess the key word I'd like to bounce around here is sustainability. So sustainability of research. So again, we have to, and there's no argument that a good university needs to have a strong research aspect. But say in our case, it is very important to remember that we also need to be the one funding this aspect. And again, it is our university's sort of job to make sure it is sustainable. So we are starting. How should I put it? So we are we're a management university. So in one way, which plays to our strength and plays towards us, management research is usually not as expensive as, let's say, medical research, engineering research, right? It usually does not require building multi-million pound labs. So in this sense, social sciences, we are a bit blessed relative to technical universities, but still, of course, it requires professors. It requires basically hiring, bringing in people who are able to do this kind of research. So again, very honestly, for us, we're young, so we have a long-term plan of bringing in high quality research people to the region. Again, everybody who's worked in the region understands that it is not easy, that hiring, bringing in, not even hiring, retaining people is the hardest, right? Let's say if we bring a top quality global researcher to come to us, retaining that person is the hardest job. So one way that we are thinking about doing this, again, is it feeds into the nature of, let's say, collaboration, because if several universities, several of us can join forces and bring attract a high quality person that could perhaps work or collaborate, not just in one university, but across several, that could it's not, I mean, financial issue, of course, is one issue, but it's also could keep the person, the researcher, more engaged by allowing this researcher to travel and to work across several countries in Central Asia. And this is an open-ended question. If any of you feel that this is a possible, scenario, if this is a possible road for cooperation, we would be interested in discussing that further. But it's more, again, I want to bounce it back to colleagues to say, do you think this is one of the approaches to develop research in the region, to sort of co-share the costs? And to co-share the cost of attracting people, not just financial, but also intellectual costs of that.
Thank you, Yuri. That's a fantastic idea. I think I'm going to push people. So we're running towards the end, but we still have time for a little bit further discussion. Goleb, please, I would like to invite you to say a word if you could.
Thank you. Hi, good day, everybody. Yeah, I think, Yuri raised a valid point. Just to add, I have some additions to that. So Uzbekistan is just opening up for private sector higher education. So there wasn't many, or there was none couple of years ago. And this is this is one thing. So I think the focusing on the research would be a little bit difficult at this current time, because we need to put the teaching, the pedagogy methods on its own, rails first. And second is there is still predominance of Soviet style higher education here, and most of the research is just not at the level of that meets international standards. There is some activity going on at certain universities, let's say Westminster and others, but and I think the reason for that is I think compared to Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, the government doesn't finance, that doesn't put a lot of financing for university research. Where I remember the times where I was teaching at Kazakh-British Technical University. And I remember that government was heavily funding the university research, whereas in Uzbekistan it's still at the, I think, infancy level. But the government is paying attention to this. But we still have a long time to go. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. That's a very important point. And only thing I would like to say is that the Soviet research in most areas was world level. It's a fact that it's post-Soviet research which has declined.
That's
and,
correct.
And we need to find ways to maintain that. While we can take one further question from the audience, but I wanted to reflect on this particular issue, that how each country within the region has taken a slightly different approach, how to come out of having this Academy of Sciences and university division, but often the countries in the region are only looking at models in Anglo-Saxon world, which Shokan highlighted. However, there are other successful models, for instance, that of Germany, that of France, where you have Academy of Sciences type of institutions like Max Planck or CNRS, and similar institutions, which then have a constructive relationship with universities. And I think Yuri's point is actually quite a good one, that to collaborate across universities in a country and across the countries to bring, because if you want to retain high-end researchers, you have to offer them research opportunities, not only financial and other. So they're long-term engaged. They come in because they want to come, not because they're getting paid, and one that has to kind of put together in as a conceptual framework, and a new one. Maybe Central Asia can pioneer, because you have now renewed spirit of cooperation in the region, and I think governments and other agencies, international agencies, perhaps will even support such an initiative. So let's work towards that. So if there are any further words from our panel, would Gareth, would you like to say any concluding words before we sign off for today?
Yes, thanks. It's been really interesting, and I'm grateful for all of the information that you've been sharing today, because I'm not in the region at the moment. I'm actually in Bulgaria, in Eastern Europe, and here they have a similar problem. The problem is actually worldwide. It's not just in Central Asia. One of the things I would say to the colleagues in Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, you are still very young countries, and you are developing things. I think as long as you learn from the best and learn from the mistakes of other people, then that's actually a good thing. You have to remember that places like Cambridge are hundreds and hundreds of years old, and they've only got to where they are by making lots and lots of mistakes along the way. And as long as you learn from those mistakes, you can actually start at a much higher level than they are. Yes, it does require funding, it does require planning, but I can see already from the people that are here, there is already the vision, which is fantastic, and that's, I think, is the key thing. I will be visiting the region again shortly, I hope, and what I would love to do is come and visit your universities and have a look around and see what's actually happening, and see the changes that have happened in the short term and the short time that these things have been going. So it's been great to be here with all of you this afternoon, and I'm very hopeful for the future.
Thank you, and keep in touch, and let's build these ideas together. Al, would you like to say a final word for today's meeting?
Sorry, that's me?
Yes, please. Yes, Al.
Thank you. No, I think this idea of having joint programs or being host is great. Again, the example is health science, public health, multidisciplinary. For example, some management universities don't have any health science or even health administration department. So on the other hand, medical schools or medical universities, many of them are in Central Asia, at least 4 of them in Almaty, do have a good health science infrastructure, but not necessarily management or even research or information system, etc. Or when we talk about global health as a large domain, it's very difficult to talk about global health just within a medical university or within a management university. Therefore, I definitely think this is a key point, as mentioned by Dr. Yuri, that we should promote this non-medical and medical together and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very valuable. Yuri, concluding words?
Well, look, the biggest thing is, I think that's how we started today, is that in order to solve whatever, the issues we're talking about, we just basically need to flow information. So I suggest we all stay in touch, and want to thank you so much for connecting people, right? You're that perfect connector, right? You're the bridge. So this is something that, again, for all of us in the region, this is very important to stay connected. Hiring good people, retaining good people is difficult, but possible, definitely. So if we all join forces and see what we can do, this is something, again, staying connected and seeing how to move forward in a planned and sort of coordinated way. I think that's the way to go.
Yes, thank you. And I would like to say that British Management University has been excellent at absorbing one of the recent graduates from Cambridge with PhD as one of their faculty. We've just seen Gabdullin, who also recently graduated from Cambridge, starting to teach in Satbayev. So we're seeing this whole new trend of not just attracting foreign professors, but locals who have come out and worked at Cambridge. So Cambridge is not a ceiling for in an accessible place. However, at the same time, we do have to work towards a broader, approach of accommodating different aspirations and so on. So, Maratbek, I'd like to invite you for a final word for today's meeting.
Yes. Thank you very much. Yes, I'm very hope that it was very useful, and in future we are open. We can collaborate with universities, create joint labs, internationalizations, and our university will improve our positions on the global ranking. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We would like to create a new kind of ranking. That's what we're trying to do with this special issue, which is about the university rather than about some parameters from somewhere. Anyway, I'm really grateful that you found time to be with us and also the audience. These are new topics, and these require discussion, the kind we are having right now, to open up new avenues of inquiry and cooperation and so on. We hope we can continue this from Cambridge side. We are again to all our colleagues and partners in the region, as well as the new friends we have made today. The Cambridge Central Asia Forum remains open we are a multidisciplinary research center. Anything from geology, physics to economics and manuscripts, educational issues, as well as pedagogy. All of that is part of what we do. Our motto is to get best minds in the world to take interest in Central Asia and Eurasia. That's what we really aspire to do. And I think today was also a sort of example of that. So with this, I hand back to the publishers and organizers of today's event, and I thank them as well for bringing us together. So we continue. So back to you, Sabina.
So thank you for your speeches. Today was really interesting. So I will share with all of the participants the link to our conference, and also like a short discourse of the conference. Now let me please share with you the last time the video of the Eurasian Creative Guild. So it's just a couple of minutes.
While this starting, this event is also live on Facebook, so many more people are watching it there.
Okay, yeah.
My name is David Parry, and it's a very, very great pleasure indeed to be involved with the Open Eurasian and Central Asian Book Forum and Film Festival. It is a unique operation linking Central Asia with the countries of Europe, and it has a very powerful, will have an increasingly powerful influence on our own cultures. I'm looking forward very much to getting more involved.
So thank you for joining us for today's meeting. Thank you.